rules of golf can seem extremely complicated and overwhelming to a new golfer. I've drafted in Steve Carroll, a rules expert, to break down the rules of golf that all golfers should know, such as how long can you search for a ball for and how to take a drop. But first, let's start with what even is a provisional ball. Oh dear. Right, Steve, I'm not sure where that's gone. I've missed the green by miles. I've not seen it down. So what do I do in this situation?
So you've got a couple of choices. The most natural one, I would say, if you think that your ball is lost or might be out of bounds in this case, you can declare a provisional to save time, and that allows you to hit another. Your other alternative is just to say that's gone and put another ball into play by taking stroke and distance.
So I can just get another ball out of my bag or my pocket, just put it down and play on.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that you have to do. You would need to properly declare that you're playing a provisional ball, assuming that's what you want to do here, Jack.
Yeah.
You'll need to declare that you're taking a provisional. The best way to do that is to say, I'm going to play a provisional. You'll be amazed how often this catches people out, right?
Yeah.
But that would be the best way to do it. Or to use some words that clearly mean that you're taking a provisional ball.
So if I forget to say the word provisional, put the ball down, hit a second shot, where do I stand there?
Yeah, that's the ball in play. You'll have taken stroke and distance relief. You won't be playing a second, you'll actually be playing your third. First ball gone, penalty stroke 2, playing your third.
So this is a great idea, isn't it, for people who they've hit a shot or they generally hit the ball a bit wayward and they're trying to avoid going down the hole, losing it, and then having to run back. That sort of declaration of provisional ball, it's basically like a free hit, and it allows you to hit a second. You still go look for your first, and if you find it, you can still play your first. But it just means that if you do lose your first one, you can then play your second.
Yeah, I mean, it's a vehicle to save time.
Yes.
As much as anything else, because if you think about a busy Saturday, you get down there, you spend 3 minutes searching for your ball, you then have to go back to the tee because you haven't found it, however long a walk that is. I mean, that is a recipe for annoying the groups behind and everyone else out on the golf course.
Yeah.
But if you think that your ball might be lost, if you think that it might be out of bounds, and you take the precaution and you play that provisional, and the provisional's fine, of course, then if you get down, your time expires to search for your ball and the ball is lost, you don't have to walk all the way back. You've got another ball that will become the ball in play.
Perfect. So if you think you're going to lose your ball, just get another one out of your bag, declare a provisional, whack that down the hole, and you'll be better off for that. Right, provisional ball, tightly swung. This one's got blue dots on it.
Yeah,
the other one doesn't.
I hope it goes a bit better, Jack.
Oh, not really. Yes, I can see that one. That one's fine. Let's go find him. Right, Steve, my ball's found a ditch, and there appears to be some red stakes about. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, firstly, Jack, you're not going to play this. This could be your John van der Velde moment. Come on, shoes off, trousers up.
On a warm summer's day, you might have a crack, but on a cold, frosty morning, no. So I want to take relief here, but I'm not quite sure what to do because of the red stakes.
Well, we'll come to the red stakes in a minute. Firstly, you are entitled to take relief. Your ball is known or virtually certain to be in a penalty area. You can see it, it's clearly in the water.
Yeah.
So you can take penalty area relief. It'll cost you a penalty shot.
Okay.
So remember that when you're making these decisions. But you can take penalty area relief. There's essentially 2 to 3 options depending on the colour of the stakes that you've got, and this is what you were talking about. There are 2 different types of stakes,
yep.
Red and yellow. And the only difference between the 2 is that with red penalty area stakes, you've got a third relief option. So firstly, you've always got the option of stroke and distance. So you can basically go back, play it again.
So just go back to the tee and replay the shot, basically.
Yeah. Your second penalty area relief is what's called back on the line relief, and we'll get into what that actually is in a second. The third, and this only applies to red penalty area stakes, is you can take something called lateral relief as well.
Right, shall I fish the ball out and we'll have a go at that? Okay, so I've decided I'm going to take penalty area relief, Steve, so how do I do that?
So have you decided which one you want to take? I mean, you've obviously got those 3 options. You've got stroke and distance relief. Do you fancy going back to where you played and hitting again?
Absolutely not. No, I don't want to give up that 100 yards of distance, so I'd rather be here somewhere.
So we've got these two other options then. The first is back on the line relief. So you take the estimated point where the ball last crossed the penalty area, and then you push a line with the hole from that point, and you basically go back on a line as far back as you'd like.
Okay, so would I need to put a tee in the ground for that?
Not necessarily. You can do it visually. I mean, if it helps you to do it, you can, but it's your estimated point, remember?
Yeah.
So you find your estimated point, then you line up with the hole, you keep that hole in mind, and then you just go back on a line as far back as you want.
So the reason you do that is to maybe try and find a flat stance or something like that?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it gives you more options than perhaps lateral relief does, that we're going to talk to in a second. But yeah, lateral relief is very, very straightforward. Again, that estimated point where the ball last crossed the penalty area, and then you've got a 2 club length area, relief area within which you can drop.
Okay.
Just got to make sure that that's no closer to the hole.
So I think my ball's gone in line with this little gorse bush here.
Yeah.
So what I'm now going to do is 2 club lengths
so
on that.
Take the ball out of the penalty area. Look where the penalty area lines are.
Oh,
so the penalty area stakes. You take the ball out of the penalty area, then you've got 2 club lengths laterally from that point.
So interesting point there, Steve. What you're saying is anything within the red stakes is penalty area, so not just the ditch.
Correct.
So like this bit of grass is actually in the penalty area.
Yeah, it's in the penalty area, yeah.
Right.
Now, you can ground your club in a penalty area now. You weren't able to before 2019, but now you can ground your club in a penalty area. So you might decide, if your ball was hanging on the edge, for example, that you might want to play it, and then you wouldn't have to take a penalty stroke because you're playing the ball as it lies. But as you've decided that you're going to take penalty area relief, we've now got this choice between back on the line relief and lateral relief. As I said, lateral relief gives you that 2 club relief area within which to drop, easy for me to say. And back on the line, obviously, as we said earlier, going back as far back as you want. Now, when you drop under back on the line relief, something quite strange happens compared to other relief procedures, but it is worth pointing out. When the ball is dropped, it can go a club length in any direction and be in play. Normally, if you take relief and you've got that club length relief area and it bounces out of that, bounces forward, for example, and out of that, you would have to re-drop. But in this case, you've got a circle. It's best to think of it as a circle. When you drop that ball, a club length in either direction. And if it lands in there, it's in play.
Right, Steve, I'm able to take a drop off this path. Can you just please run me through how to take a drop correctly?
So in this case, you don't need to mark it because you're going to find your nearest point of complete relief from the path.
Yep.
And then you've got a 1 club relief area within which to drop. So, I mean, this is a fairly straightforward process. When we drop a golf ball, we've got to drop it in the right way, and that means from knee height. So you can pick your ball up, find where your knee height is.
There?
Yeah.
You happy there?
Yeah.
And then just let go?
And just drop it. Yeah. And that ball has stayed in its 1 club relief area. So in this case, it would be in play. Now, when I say drop the ball in the right way, you dropped it in the right way there. You just dropped it from knee height. Don't roll it, don't spin it, don't chuck it. Just get it to knee height, let it go, let it drop. And if it stays in the relief area, you'll have dropped in the right way.
And if I drop it and it bounces into me or something strange happens, do I re-drop it or is it in play?
So there are some things that you would have to do. If the ball bounces out of the relief area when you drop it and then bounces in, you would have to re-drop it. If the ball is bounced in the relief area but then comes out of the relief area, you'd have to drop it again. When you talk about when it hits you or equipment, it can get slightly complex and it depends when it does it.
Okay.
So if it hits the ground first in the relief area, hits you and stays in the relief area, that's fine.
Right.
But if it hits you before it bounces
on the way down.
On the way down, then you'd have to re-drop it.
Okay, fair enough. That all seems fairly straightforward. Pick it up, knee high, drop it, make sure it stays within my 1 club length, and then on your way. Do you subscribe to Your Golf NCG? Well, if you don't, then please hit that subscribe button. And whilst you're there, if you could drop a like and a comment, then that'd be brilliant. Okay, Steve, so I've hit my ball into this long stuff and I've had a bit of a look for it and I can't find it. How long can I look for?
So within the rules, you have 3 minutes to search for a golf ball. Used to be a bit longer back in the day. Used to be 5 minutes if you go back a few years, but now it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That period begins when you get to the area where you believe the ball is and you start searching. So the clock starts then.
Yeah.
There are various times at which the clock can be paused and can be stopped, but generally speaking, 3 minutes. That's what you've got. If you haven't found the ball within that 3 minutes, it's lost.
And then hopefully in that case, you just go and play your provisional ball rather than having to run all the way back to where you played the last one from and play from there, play again.
Yeah. One of those good reasons for hitting a provisional. Now, something a lot of people will ask about is, how do I know it's 3 minutes?
Yeah.
How do I know it's 3 minutes? Sounds an obvious question, but we don't often think about how we record time out on the golf course. And what I would urge golfers to do, if they've got a watch, if they've got a stop clock on their mobile phone and they're out on the course, to just click that when they begin the search. And then that shows you exactly where you are with the time in relation to the 3 minutes. Now, you might think that's a pretty boring thing to do. Oh, nerd, why is he doing this? But it can solve a lot of controversies, because you will inevitably at some point get some players who will say to you, you've had your 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know that you've had your 3 minutes or not if you haven't been timing it? So it's actually of benefit to you being the one searching for the ball to start the clock and start the timer, and then you can say, no, I've got another minute actually.
Yeah.
Solves a few controversies afterwards as well, because if you get into a dispute about how long has been had for a search, if none of you have timed it, how can you actually say how long the search went on for? So I know it sounds a bit extreme. I'm searching for a ball for 3 minutes. I know what 3 minutes is, but just click it on your watch or on your phone, and then you resolve all arguments.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's great. I think that's really helpful, because it just keeps the game moving, doesn't it? It stops the standing on the tee waiting for people, and you just keeps the game moving, keeps it fun.
I've certainly had a few occasions where I wish it was longer than 3 minutes, but those are the rules now and we have to follow them.
Perfect. So my ball's in a bunker, and there's just a few strange things about where I can put my club down, where I can't put my club down, and stuff like that. So can you just explain what I'm allowed to do with my club in the bunker, please, Steve?
Yeah, times have changed, Jack. Don't know, I should be saying this, but we are old enough to remember a time when basically doing anything in and around a bunker was considered bad form.
My own dad once called a penalty shot on me for scooping the rake out the bunker with my club. And the rake was at the other side of the trap. It was nothing. I was 13, didn't know what I was doing. Penalty shot from my old man. How bad's that?
Wow, that is competitive dad.
That is competitive dad.
Absolutely competitive dad. But you had all these kind of weird situations, didn't you, where people would be like scrabbling not to fall in a bunker, and great for comedy rules and great for comedy golf videos, but not quite so great for the player. So in 2019, the rules were changed a little bit and was softened a little bit with what you can do in a bunker. So essentially, if you're leaning on a club in a bunker, it's fine, it's no problem.
That's all right.
Where it becomes problematic is if you're doing it to deliberately test the condition of the sand. You're clearly not there, you're just leaning on it, it's all fine. You know, you can chuck a club into the bunker now. You can basically throw it in, as long as you're not doing it to test the sand. How could you test the sand in that situation?
Why would you do that?
Then it's fine. Well, people do sometimes, don't they? They chuck a rake in, or they might have a couple of clubs and they'll chuck them in at a different part of the bunker.
Fair point.
So you can do that. Where it starts to get tricky is when we're in and around the ball. So you cannot touch the sand either directly in front or directly behind the ball.
Okay.
Don't do it, because
Right.
the penalty shots will be forthcoming, and it's a 2-shot penalty, so it's stringent. What you've really got to try and beware of as well, in your backswing, moving sand, that'll incur a penalty in the same way. But when we're away from the ball,
Yeah.
it's not anything goes, obviously, but the rules are a lot more relaxed.
So when I'm teaching new players how to get out of bunkers, they'll often put the club down and re-grip it, or they'll just put the club down behind the ball. So you're saying that that's a 2-shot penalty if you play into the rules, basically.
Yeah, yeah. If you did that in the competition, you'd be in a bit of trouble. I mean, what you often see in teaching is, teachers putting a line behind the ball, don't they, to do it? And the same would apply there. If you did that in competitive action to give yourself a lift, you'd be in breach for touching the sand.
So really, you could just say don't touch the sand as a general guide for golfers to avoid the penalty. Just don't do it, but you can around the bunker, just not around the ball.
Yeah, when you're as decrepit as I am, you've just got used to the old ways of just not touching anything in the sand.
Yeah.
It's slightly different now, obviously, because you used to have the same rules in the penalty area. You couldn't ground your club in a penalty area. Now you can, but it still applies here. And I think, the easiest way to remember it is anything that could possibly improve the conditions of the stroke, don't do it, and you'll always be okay.
That is great advice. We'll go with that.